Welcome everyone to Science is Dope Live. I'm really sorry I'm 10 minutes late, but we were sorting out some technical issues. But I think everything is okay now. Hope you can see both my webcam as well as Arif's webcam. Please welcome Dr. Arif Hussain, ex Dr. Arif Hussain. He insisted I call him Arif, so I'm going to do that. Arif is an ex-homeopath, and he also has a channel here on YouTube where he talks about why he left homeopathy. I've left the channel link in the title itself. He talks about why he left homeopathy. He has criticisms of homeopathy, and his content is mainly in Malayalam, which is why I wanted him to come on Science is Dope and have an interview. Now, I have great respect for him because it's not very easy to go against your biases, and in fact, actually go against them and criticize what you used to be. And also Arif is an excellent science communicator, and every time I hear him, he's extremely eloquent and shares his thoughts and opinions with such clarity. Welcome Arif to Science is Dope.
Yeah, thank you so much. I hope I'm audible everywhere. and
Yeah, yeah.
okay,
I hope the stream is fine. I hope all
yeah,
sound and
let's check it
everything
out
is.
because everything is one man show.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
feel like
just
we
let me.
should. Wait. I'm looking at the chat also at the same time. I hope everything is all the video and audio and everything is fine.
Uh, my dear friends, audience, can you please let me know whether my audio is heard there? Please let me know. Am I audible?
Yeah, I think someone said your webcam is smaller. Yeah, whoever's speaking, their webcam will be the
Yeah, pop
main
up. Yeah.
cam. Yeah. Okay, I think we can start. But before we start, I just want to say, before we start with the questions, we're not really going to discuss why homeopathy is unscientific. I already have content on that, and you can check out Arif's channel or the literally thousands of videos that you can get from just one search on YouTube. What we are going to talk about is his experiences of leaving homeopathy, and maybe the topic of why homeopathy is unscientific will come in some of those questions. And we're also going to talk about his criticisms of homeopathy and how he does it today. And the last half hour of the stream, we're going to dedicate it to audience questions. So keep your questions till then. And yeah, with that said, shall we start? Arif, are
Yeah,
you ready?
yeah, yeah, ready.
Okay, great. The first question would definitely be, let's address the elephant in the room. Why did you decide to leave homeopathy, and when did this happen?
I think this happened almost. It's not an epiphany or a part
Okay.
of any revelation. It happened as a process, and there will be some questions in our mind the moment we come to the college itself. Like we start questioning or we start thinking about all the things which we start learning from the college. So one of the reasons why I happen to be in a homeopathic medical college is that just because it's almost a normal thing to take homeopathic pills or homeopathic medicine in our childhood, because everything is just done as a normal course of affairs in our life. Like just if you have any fever or any milder symptoms, you just go to the nearby doctor, and most of the time it will be a homeopathy in our state. So everywhere in India, that's almost the same. But I think in Kerala, it was a little more in number, the number of homeopaths. So I was always fond of these homeopathic pills, and I was always taken to a homeopathic doctor because of the availability and all such factors. So never ever there was a thought in my mind that this is going to be a pseudoscience or something that is against the science, because such a thing is never present in our upbringing, where we have to think about the scientific aspect of any of the things which we do in our lives. That's not ever taught in our life. So the moment we complete our studies from our +2, after our schooling, we will be going for the career options, and one of the main career option, as we know, is a medical profession. So we go for the medical entrance, and we come up with certain ranks, and based on that we are getting into some colleges, some degrees, some these kind of AYUSH degrees as well. So that's how I happened to be in a homeopathy medical college. I had never ever thought that this is going to be a pseudo-scientific thing. So after getting into the college, we'll be slowly listening to many weird sounding theories and all such things, and we will be thinking in ourselves, in our mind, and we will be starting to question it. And most of the time when we raise such questions to our teachers, the most heard answer that we were given is that you are just a student now. So the moment you start learning more and more about this, by the time you reach the final year, you will get the answer. So just hold on, just hang on there. There's nothing to worry about this. Just look at us. We are all practicing doctors, and we have many, many accomplishments in our life. So it's perfectly okay. There's nothing to worry about that. Just hold on. That's it. So that's one answer. And the second one is, if we question all these things a little more, then that will start affecting our internal marks or any such things, and we'll just decide to, okay, it's better that we just complete the course and we go forward. That's it. So that was the life in a college. Just after coming out of the college and just before coming out of it, these questions were accumulating in our mind, and we start questioning, and we were looking outside for the solutions, the right answers. So after the initial few years itself, I could come to a conclusion that we were always told that you should never ever give much importance to the critics of homeopathy, because they are just part of the big pharma mafia, that big pharma. So they are the people who are trying to suppress homeopathy, because that's gaining popularity everywhere. So you are always told, okay, you should never listen to the critics. So they are just making criticism out of professional rivalry. These are the narratives which we were exposed to. But after coming out of the college, I started realizing that there is something material in all these criticisms. So we should give a little more attention to their aspect, their points, and we should look around for some possible answers if there is any truth in their criticism. So that's how I started doing all these things. And at first, being a novice doctor, the only option with me was to just wait for the answers from the seniors. Okay, but unfortunately, all the seniors were just telling the same answers for the past 15 or 10 years, and I'm not seeing any kind of progress from that answers. And above all, at the time when I was studying, one of the main narrative was that homeopathy is flourishing around the world, and especially in the West, like in the Europe or in other America and in many other countries, especially in Europe. So after coming out of the college, what I saw was in different countries, homeopathy was getting out of the medical reimbursement, the government support given to the homeopathic system of practice was taken away, especially in UK. The NHS funding was stopped in 2016. So I could come to a conclusion that, okay, something is wrong seriously, and we should look around for the real reasons why homeopathy is put into this criticism. And the final nail to the coffin was the report that came from Australia regarding the NHMRC report that homeopathy is a placebo. There's no any valid reason or a valid evidence to support the claim that homeopathy is really giving some sort of some cure or relief to the patient. So, as a whole, this took almost 5 to 7 years to come out of, to realize the problem, to make me understand this is a real problem, and then to hunt for the solutions and to come to a conclusion that okay, this is a real problem. There is no solution to this, and to make me believe that okay, there's no point in continuing with this profession and to quit this. So it took almost 5 to 7 years, and since last 2-3 years, I have completely stopped the practice. I'm not doing it right now. Okay, that's the whole story in short.
So the year when this happened was around 2017-18?
Yeah, 2017-18, yeah, around.
Okay, okay. And like when you realize this, I'm sure like homeopathy was your profession. It's how you earned a living. Like it's not possible to instantly quit, right? Like
Yeah.
you would have realized this, but there must have been a transition period when you decided, okay, what else should I do? All these things. So you want to talk a little bit about how long or what happened during that transition period?
Transition period, I was looking for other opportunities, but most of the time I was engaged in finding out the solutions to my questions, and I should say I wasted almost 3-5 years, which I could have used much more for gaining some other degrees, other higher degrees or any other courses, but I wasted all this. But I don't regret that, because you know I'm now in a position to say that this is a pseudoscience, and actually I learned many things, and that's how I turned out to be an ex-homeopath right now, and now I'm confident that I can give all this science communication to the people. Like I learned a lot of things out of this in this process. That's one benefit which I got during this process. Yeah, there's a problem is that I wasted all this time just for finding out the answer and to make me believe. But this was necessary, because this is not going to happen with any other normal homeopath, because all the doctors around them, the fellow homeopaths, they will never ever say that this is not, they'll never ever accept that this is a pseudoscience. That's the biggest problem. For example, you know, we have the way a science is evolving in our society, in our world, is like, it's not that you come up with a invention or a discovery or a breakthrough scientific invention, and you need to do that in every panchayat of our country. That's not the way. Like you get the vaccine from the Oxford University or any other research bodies, and you are just taking up that technology and we are just copying it in our country. We are not waiting to complete all those steps done by Oxford to be done in our country and then to go for a vaccine manufacturing. That's not the way. So regarding homeopathy, to look for whether it's a scientific, it is scientifically rooted, there's no need of doing all these tests again in our country, because it's already done in many other parts of the world. There are reports from USA, from Canada, from Russia, from UK, from Australia, and many other countries. They have done independent scientific inquiries into all these things, and they have come up with the verdicts that homeopathy is pseudoscience. Then what is the reason, what is the need for waiting for more clarity into this? There's no point in doing that, because actually what we are doing right now is our country is wasting the public funds. Yeah. And you can just imagine how if we are just spending all this money to prove that the earth is round, it's not flat. That's the same scenario happening in our country. Like, we are funding the homeopathic research to prove it is right or wrong. There's no point in doing that. That's it. Okay.
Yeah. And about what you said about wasting so many years, I think that's more than made up for, because today you're very well respected within the science communication community. And I've seen a lot of your speeches also that
Mhm.
where you try to educate people about the importance of being scientific, at least in the case of medicine. And I think all that is extremely valuable. And even within the science communication community, um, someone like you who has the experience of both sides, I think you're a very valuable person also. So
Yeah, it's
yeah,
all part of the game. We have
yeah,
nothing, we have not scripted anything. It's
yeah,
just part of the game. That's it.
yeah, yeah. So I would ask you, like, um, um, so recently I saw a post of yours on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, where the your license to practice homeopathy has been revoked, and you responded very, very humorously, saying, "Hey, why is this? Why did you do it only for 1 year? Why did you make it invalid only for 1 year? Make it permanent."
Yeah.
Yeah, is there anything you? I just want you to comment on that, and also, are there any other legal consequences that have come out of this?
Yeah, that move by the medical council, we can see that in two scenarios. Like, uh, what I'm doing here is not criticizing the profession. I'm just criticizing the science behind it. Okay, so and that is a part of our constitutional duty, which is to be done by every citizen in this country. So I'm just doing that. But the problem is when I make all these criticism, the most expected response from the people around, especially the homeopathy community, is to give the proper answer. It's not just they can stop me by cutting off my hands or legs or dethroning me. That's not the way. But actually, what they have done right now by canceling my suspending my certificate, sorry, this registration for 1 year at least. It's a kind of retaliative move, which is I would say a fascist which is fascist in nature. That is to stop the criticism or to stop the ideas by force, by using either by mechanical force or by these kind of laws. That's the one aspect in that. But and the second one is there's no ground in canceling this registration like this because it's clearly mentioned in the code of ethics or this medical council that what are the reasons to cancel a registration, and criticizing the science behind a profession, that's not a ground, a valid ground to cancel this registration. So obviously we have plans to move forward legally, and we will be challenging this suspension, and that's in the annual. Okay.
This only makes them look bad. The fact
True.
that
Yeah.
instead of giving you an answer, they're taking moves like these. I
Yeah.
think it makes them look bad. Yeah.
True. True.
Also, I want to ask you. So you spoke about your college experience,
Hmm.
but I want to ask you, in college, in your homeopathy course, what do they actually teach you? Do they teach you the doctrines of homeopathy? Do they teach you anything from modern medicine? So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a very important question because when we criticize homeopathy in public, one of the main arguments made by this homeopathy is that what's the difference between modern medicine and homeopathy? We are taught all the subjects which is taught in an MBBS degree. So uh, what's the difference in this, and why are you just mocking us? We are also modern doctors. That's the claim, one of the main arguments, counter arguments made by the homeopaths. But the problem is, if you are learning something, and if you are trying to, if you are trained in something, that should be in line with the philosophy or the theoretical part, and then only that is having some validity. Okay, for example, it's okay. The answer to your question is that almost all the subjects taught in a modern medical degree is also included in a BHMS degree, and in almost every AYUSH degree it's almost the same. We are taught the anatomy, biochemistry, physiology, and surgery, the medicine, and everything is taught. Almost all the subjects and textbooks are the same, but The difference comes when the training part and in the training part and other pharmacological part. Okay, so when you come to homeopathy, you will be taught the materia medica. Okay, and you are not taught the modern pharmacology. That's the difference. But also the mode of training and the kind of exposure you are getting. Okay, so in a modern medicine degree, for example, this MBBS, you will be given intense training for the surgical procedures, and diagnosis is very important in that. So that's how the training goes in the modern medical degree. But when you come to homeopathy, that's a little more different, because that intensity is lacking, especially in the surgical cases, and the need for diagnosis and all such things are a little bit lower. But there are some colleges which teach a little in a better manner, depending upon the teachers who teach all these things. So fortunately, my medicine teachers and the surgery teachers, they were a little more inclined towards this diagnosis part. So I was taught in a better manner. So I'm thankful to them, and that I think that's one of the reasons why I was more inclined to this science. Okay, so I'm thankful to them. And the second part is that when you learn something as part of your curriculum, that should be in line with the underlying philosophy of that course. So when you come to homeopathy, the basic underlying philosophy is vitalism, vital force theory. So the cause of disease, the reason why you get a disease is because it's due to the derangement in vital force. So that's a supernatural or extraterrestrial, some kind of mystic occurrence that cause you disease. So, for example, if you read the Organ of Medicine, that's the Bible of homeopathy, there are sentences which you can see in the aphorisms that diseases spread from one person to the other. It's not by any material passing in between, but it's by something mystic or some invisible energy is passing from one person to the other. So that's the basic concept. So that means, though you are learning the parasitology in your second year or third year, that's not in line with the philosophy of your degree. So that means there's no virus, there's no bacteria, or there's no germ theory in homeopathy. Okay, homeopathy is opposed to these kind of germ theory, but you are learning all these germ theory in your curriculum. So what's the use of learning all these things? So the only reason which I can find, which I found out after learning all these things, is to just boast about that we have learned all these things, and to make a counter argument whenever there's a criticism that, yeah, we have learned all these things just as you have learned. So what's the point in criticizing us? So that's the only benefit. And even when you look at the way the COVID-19 was handled by the homeopaths, I always wonder how these people are coming up with the arsenicum album as a preventive or as a prophylactic for this COVID-19 when they are not believing as per the textbooks that there's no virus. There's no virus according to homeopathy, but still they are coming up with arsenicum album as a prophylactic for COVID-19. So that's the paradox. Only those people who are interested in understanding all these things can come to this conclusion, but that's very rare. Okay.
So I want to ask you, see, you have spent so many years, and then when you realized this, you decided, and it was a very hard decision to make, to leave the profession and do something else. So I want to ask you, if there are any young people listening to this who are already in that profession, or maybe they're in college and they're coming across, this is the age of the internet, it's inevitable to come across all these criticisms against you. So when they do come across all these things, what should they do? Like, what would be your advice to them?
Okay, my advice, or my the resultant outcome of my communication always have a positive action and also a side effect. I know that the positive action is that I'm talking to the young generation who are especially to the students who are just completing their higher secondary education and they are looking for a future career option, and especially for a medical degree. And I'm talking to them. I'm not talking to the patients. I'm not talking to the practicing doctors right now. I'm not talking to the teachers or any of those people who are already in the profession. I'm not talking to them. I'm talking only to the young generation. Okay, just because they are vulnerable and they are in danger of learning such a such a pseudoscience. That's the main thing I'm concerned about. So the side effect is that when I communicate this, always these people who are already in the profession, they will be getting a heat from that, and they won't be happy. I know that, but unfortunately I can't help that, and please be sorry for me. And okay, that's the only thing. So the one advice which I always try to give to this young generation is that first thing which I didn't realize until I came to this point is that whatever things you do in your life, you take whenever you are asked to take any decision in your life or anything, there should be an inquiry for the scientific basis, or such kind of thought should be there. A free thought should be there. So only after applying such a scientific inquiry you can come up with a learned decision. Otherwise, you will have to regret in your future. So that's the only one advice which I can give as a common advice for any decision you can make. And if you apply that to selecting a degree, a course for you as a career option, that can help you, that may save you from homeopathy. That's the one advice. And the second one is that homeopathy is, you might have seen a lot of testimonials and anecdotal evidence that it is working. I'm sure that whenever we criticize homeopathy, the most important thing which is brought up by these people around, like especially the homeopaths, the doctors, and those patients who are having a believer mentality, they will be saying that, okay, I have seen such and such cases getting cured out of homeopathy, so why should I disbelieve that? It's working. So the problem is, in science, there's an aspect called quality of evidence. It's not just the evidence that is matter. The quality of evidence is that what matters. So testimonials or anecdotal evidence or case reports or all these kind of background information is, of course, that's part of science, but that is having the least quality. So whenever there is a background information like this, these kind of testimonials, in science there's a mechanism to analyze and to filter out the real observations, the real and qualified and valid evidence from this background information to come up with foolproof evidence. And we will do certain experiments, and we will design some experiments, and we'll be coming up through that, and we will reach systematic review and meta-analysis, and through that we come up with the most qualifying, most having the utmost quality evidence. So we only take that, and that's how we decide a medical intervention or a medical policy. Okay, so when you look at this whole picture, homeopathy is nowhere in this picture. That's the single one reason why I had to quit this. Okay, if ever there was a single an instance where homeopathy was cured, any evidence to substantiate its cure, I would have remained in this profession and I could have continued practicing this, but I couldn't see any. And that's why, as I already said regarding the reports that came in from Australia and other parts of the world, that homeopathy is not working. It's a pseudoscience. So that's the reason. Okay.
So, why is it important for medicine to be scientific? I mean, what's the problem if there are multiple schools of medicine? Some of them may be scientific, some of them may be unscientific. Why should it be scientific?
Okay. Imagine that you are going to the space in a spacecraft, maybe through the SpaceX or the NASA or through our ISRO. Will you ever see that another spacecraft going up made out of some pseudoscience? You will never ever see. Okay,
Made out
you
of wood.
won't. Yeah, made out of wood or maybe made out of some some other substance, and maybe they might be using the gobar gas instead of the aviation fuel. Okay, you won't see that instead of these liquid oxygen or hydrogen. They might be using gobar gas and going up to the Mars or to the Saturn. You won't see that. You won't be getting any instance of for saying a what do you say, to wave your hand to a fellow traveler in a pseudoscientific or an alternative space travel. You won't see that. You won't see an alternative what do you say, a warship in the seas, in the ocean. You won't see that. You won't see a what do you say, a vessel in the ocean which is made out of wood or something like that competing with you. You won't see that. The same way, always we look for the most advanced and most up-to-date scientific information and the scientific breakthrough inventions in every other field. But the question comes here that when it comes to your healthcare, when it comes to your medical care, why you are going behind all these outdated and these kind of alternatives? What's the need for that? And the most important thing is, if there is something that is working, and if you could come out of, if you can come up with some evidence to support it is working, then it's no more an alternative. It's part of the medicine. It's part of the mainstream scientific medicine. It's part of the science. So there's nothing called an alternative to the science. Like you cannot see an alternative aeronautics. You won't see alternative nautical science. You won't see alternative chemistry, physics, mathematics. You won't see alternative medicine also. So medicine, of course, we know that it's part of medicine evolved from the society, from the indigenous practices, from the empirical knowledge, and from all such background information. That's how medicine came up, from the grandma medicine. But we know that there's a mechanism today to analyze and to validate all this information, and that's how science put its tools into all this background information, all this what do you say, proto-science, and now it is refined to be a most advanced form of scientific practice, and we call it as medicine. And unfortunately, since we have many other things fighting it along with it, we are bound to call it modern medicine. Otherwise, it's just we should have been calling it just as a medicine. But since we have many other things, it's a bad, unfortunate situation. Like we are bound to call like that. It's modern medicine. Okay.
Yeah. There's a similar thing. I think astronomy should have actually been called astrology, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, astrology means something entirely different.
Yeah, but yeah, that's true. Even astronomy, the forefather or the proto-scientific version of astronomy is astrology. It came from astrology, like we can say like that. Alchemy was the proto-scientific form of chemistry, which we see today. Like that, there are many things. So even for medicine also we have that. But you just imagine whether we are using this alchemy for modern scientific experiments using the modern chemistry. We never do that. We have its own new inventions and new techniques and ways of doing such things. We never go for alchemy principles. So the same applies with medicine also. There's no point in keeping along all these outdated practices. Okay.
Yeah. And also, in my opinion, like personally, I don't trust any doctors. I don't trust the word of one single person, no matter how much of an expert he is. If he advises that I should take this medicine, then I should be able to independently figure out or research and find out for myself that, okay, this medicine has been studied and these are the results. Like, I should be able to independently figure out what is the reliability of that medicine. And I can't do that with any of these other schools. So
True.
I think for this reliability also, being scientific is something very important.
Yeah, I would like to add one point to this. Actually, it's the duty of the governments, our system, to make available only the scientific products among us. But when you look at the Indian scenario, you can see that even in the COVID that intensive care units, this Gomudra is given. So who is supporting that? Just imagine that. So here, our country is going backward in this aspect. So now the only hope is left with the people to come out of this by learning themselves all these things, and that's a huge burden from the part of the people, because it's not always possible. Because for the people, the common layman, to have a scientific temper is not that easy, because that requires to think out of the box and to think. It's like to move out of the herd. So just like if you are a free thinker, you are a black sheep. Actually, you are not included in that group. You will be always singled out everywhere, because you will be talking something sane, but for them it is insane. That's the reality. So when you question Sadhguru, you will be called as, okay, what's wrong with you? That's how you are treated. Same goes with any other things. Like if you question Ayurveda, then you are an insane person. But when you support it, you are okay. Everything is normal. You are okay. So the same way, but when you go out of India and you talk about religion or any other things, when you support the Sadhguru, okay, then you are an insane person. So when you are supporting this alternative system, then you are an insane person. That's the difference, the basic difference. But that doesn't mean that it's 100% scientific people are there in the West. That's a myth. I'm not saying that, but there is a difference, a very huge difference between India and the situation outside. So we need to come out of this, and I think for India, it's a long way to go for this. It's not easy. It might take at least 100 or 200 years to have such a scientific temper in a majority of our people. Okay.
Speaking of being a black sheep, you were also an ex-Muslim on top of being an ex-homeopath. So I'm sure you must face a lot of this, but have you felt like you have been outcast from any group that you're a part of?
Yeah, of course, that's quite normal. That's what we just spoke about right now. Because yeah, when you are communicating all these truths, some truths are bitter, you know that. So it's not easily digestible for all the people. Especially, I was forced to leave out of my college group, my WhatsApp group also. So it began from there. You can see from there, and it's seen everywhere. It's you will be always singled out in every other gathering where homeopaths are gathered. So like okay, that's quite normal with every other things, because if you criticize religion, you will be even ostracized there. So that's quite normal, and that's still there. Okay, it's still continuing.
Okay. And by the way, we might have another live stream where we talk exclusively
Sure.
about to him about being an
Ex-Muslim, yeah.
ex-Muslim. So
Sure.
yeah, wait for that too.
Yeah, let's do that in the next session, the part 2.
Now we also spoke about how India is kind of like the world's capital, pseudoscience capital of the world, right?
Yeah.
The government of India itself endorses pseudoscience. There's an entire ministry, AYUSH, which promotes this kind of stuff. Apart from what you said earlier about how people should kind of take this in their own hands and be scientifically aware themselves, do you see any other solution to this? Like the existence of unscientific medicine? Do you see any other solution?
So you are asking that what's the reason why all these AYUSH systems, all these pseudoscientific systems are thriving in India, isn't it? Yeah, we cannot always blame that to the people. That's not. I won't do that, because even I was one among them in the past. So that's not what do you say, reasonable to say that. Okay, so there are some reasons. What I would say is that the most important role to be taken to come out of this scenario is by the politicians. They are the main people who should come forward, and they should come to inculcate all these scientific thoughts and such that attitude in the people. So the people, the common people, for them, they always look for role models. Okay, they will always be looking for role models. For example, that's why we always say that movies have a very good impact in shaping our societies. And there are many examples from around the world, especially in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, where people are coming to this, what I have seen in my childhood, that to make them aware of the importance of gaining knowledge, to going to the school, we were given exposure through movies, and we were given, we were presented with different movies in a common ground, in an open ground, where they will be talking about the importance of literacy, gaining knowledge, and to learn to write. And that's how Kerala came forward, and now you know that we are the number one in having the most literate people. So the same way, if you are determined to give this information, this idea to the people that having a scientific temper is so important, there should be a voluntary movement in our country, and that should be supported by the government, because only a large-scale movements can bring about good change. So that's why we always say that if you wish for a positive change in our country, there should be a very good reformation happening in our political, in Indian polity. That's why we are waiting for that. We are presently we are hopeless, because what we are seeing right now is entirely opposite, and there's no hope in that. And I think all the accomplishments we had gained in all these years was taken back to almost 10-50 years in just past 10 or 7 or 5 years. So that's what we are seeing right now. So that's one part. And the second part is that, especially when coming to the medical healthcare sector, here, why people are going behind these AYUSH systems. So when I was a homeopathic doctor, one of the main reasons why people come to us is just because the modern medicine doctors they are not properly communicating with the people, with the general public. So when a doctor prescribes a tablet for their long-standing complaint, maybe for diabetes or some hypertension, the moment they get the prescription, they will, even before buying the medicine, they will come to us the next day or the next week, and they will be discussing the different aspects with us. And if I'm a homeopathy doctor, and if I'm too much into that business, I can so easily fool that person, and make him pay for at least 1 or 2 years. And in that period, I can tell him that, okay, there's no need of taking the anti-diabetic drugs or these anti-hypertensive drugs. There's no point in taking all these drugs lifelong. So if a drug is working, okay, that should clear your problem in 1 or 2 years. So let's start with homeopathy, and we'll go for some medicines, and okay, he'll be happy, because the tagline comes into play that homeopathy is side effect free, and what we are giving is the mother tinctures. So here the doctor is hiding the information partially, because actually the doctor is not aware that mother tinctures are harmful. He's not aware of that, fully aware. But even the patient is already having an idea that homeopathy is safe, it is side effect free. So when the doctor says that, okay, you go for homeopathy, he will definitely go for homeopathy treatment, or any other, even any Ayurveda or any other. So what happens here is that one of the main principles in medical care is that early detection and early intervention, that saves your life, that extends your life, that improves your quality of life, that gives you more years added to your life, that improves your longevity. So that's the basic principle. But when you come to a pseudoscientific practice, and if you are delaying the proper treatment, what happens is that in 1 or 2 years, if that hypertension is not properly controlled, that can affect various organs inside. If your diabetes is not properly controlled, that can affect various organs inside. That can even lead to a renal failure, and you can imagine what happens next. So after 1 or 2 years, the patient himself or herself will realize that okay, this is not working. My sugar is not getting under control. So now let us go for the actual treatment, the real treatment. So that's what we always say, that the real problems require real solutions. Homeopathy or any other AYUSH treatments, they may give some, what do you say, some cameo appearance or some kind of a guest role, which might entertain you for 1 or 2 years, and that's not going to give you a real solution. So that's a distractor here. That's a main delaying aspect here, and that's delaying the proper treatment, and your life is in danger. So that's the main reason. So I was coming to a point that one of the main reasons why people are going towards these AYUSH systems is because people are not given proper communication by the modern doctors. So they should give proper time. They should sit with the patient and they should explain why you are asked to take this medicine, why you are asked to take this medicine lifelong, why this is required as a lifelong medicine. They should explain it to them. Then only they will come to a conclusion that okay, my problem is a lifestyle problem. Lifestyle problem means this happened because of my faulty lifestyle in the past. So I need to correct it, and along with that, you will be asked to take some medicines, and then only you will come out of this problem. Then that's the only way by which you can come out of this. So if this doctor had given a clear answer like this, he wouldn't have come to me for an explanation. So that's the most important thing. And the second thing is that the governments are always looking for temporary solutions because of their various reasons. Their healthcare spending budget is coming less and less every year, and you know that even for AYUSH system, it's almost 3,000 crores of rupees spent in allocated in the last budget. So that means that much money is wasted. If that much money was there, the government could have installed new facilities in the rural aspects, in the rural areas in our country, and the rural healthcare could have been better. In that case, people won't go for these kind of treatments. So the government, due to their financial crunches, they are going for these kind of temporary solutions using alternative system, and that's not going to help them. And the final answer is the lack of scientific temper among the people, which is not taught from the childhood. So from childhood, we know that we are learning a lot of science subjects, but we are not taught why you are learning this. We are taught just for writing exams. That's not the reason. So we should be, yeah, that's it.
Making money.
And getting married. Okay, so that's the main thing which we are taught in our colleges, but that's not the reality. So likewise, these are the main 1 or 2 reasons which I can say why these alternative systems are thriving. So the moment the modern doctors start communicating properly with the people, the AYUSH systems will come down. That's for sure.
And modern doctors communicating with the patients, I think another problem that the doctors also face is that some people are like, to understand what the doctors would tell them, it requires a lot of prerequisites. You need to understand a lot of other things to understand whatever like, you need to understand what are the things that go on in your body, all these things before you uh, get what they say. So for them also, they might take the easier route of just seeing what the patient's problem is and just giving them medication. End of story.
Yeah.
So, and for the patients also, I've seen like some of the elder family members in my family. I've seen how they, yeah.
It's here.
Oh,
One second. One second.
I think there's a coincidence because my bell also got. Okay, you go.
We'll take a break. Just a second. Just we need not stop it. I'll just come back.
Cool.
One second.
I'll also take
Oh yeah.
just a 2-minute break, guys. Yes. So I'm back.
Yeah, there's a repair job going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was wondering what is this person doing in the background carrying that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was saying,
Power of Lord Dingen. That's it.
yeah, elder people in my family, I have noticed how they go to doctors and they have a problem. And what the doctor does or what he thinks, it's like a black box to them. So they have a problem. If you draw a flowchart, it'll be like they have a problem. Black box, whatever the doctor does, they have a solution, which is the medicine. This is how they tend to think. I've noticed this. So yeah, like you said, I think
Yeah,
before
actually,
the doc-
we cannot blame just the doctors for this, because
yeah,
why they are not able to spend this much time with the patient. That's also we have to consider that, and that's why I was telling you, because that's a vicious circle. Okay, because we should break that circle at some point. That the doctors are busy, they are not able to spend time with the people just because they are too busy. Why they are busy? They are busy just because there are not enough doctors. So why there are not enough doctors? Because the government is not able to give proper appointments in a manner that we are meeting the criteria laid down by the WHO, that for 1,000 people you should have this much doctors. And when you come to that ratio, India is lagging behind very much. We have a huge dearth of doctors in different parts of the country, but it's not uniform in every state. But if you come to Kerala, it's different. When you come to other bigger states, it will be totally different. So we should find a solution for that, and that's why I'm telling, it's all depending upon the policies, healthcare policies in our country. And for that, the politicians should realize the situation and they should come forward. Then only we can break this vicious circle.
now I want to ask you a completely different question, different from the topics that we had so
Okay.
far. So this is like, give me your opinion on this. If you've seen my video on homeopathy, I talked about a story of a doctor called Dr. Mahendralal Silva.
Yeah.
And back in his time, that was the 1800s. Back in his time, there was this debate between allopathy and homeopathy.
True.
Back then, it was called allopathy. Modern medicine evolved from allopathy. So, this debate between allopathy and homeopathy got a lot of publicity. And over several generations, I'm sure, even my dad's generation, they still have this. They've heard a lot about this debate. They have this debate in their minds about allopathy versus homeopathy, and they always picture allopathy as being bad, and they call modern medicine also as allopathy. So in your opinion, do you think this, what we see today, this okay, I think battle may not be the right term, this battle between homeopathy and allopathy, is it coming from the debate that was there maybe 150 years back? What's your opinion?
Yeah, in fact, that's a sad reality that most of the homeopaths still believe that allopathy is still existent. So that's why I always say that, even I think you were mentioning the term allopathy. That's a wrong
Yeah,
usage.
yeah, that's because in that video back then,
Yeah, yeah, I'm coming to that. Even I was also using that term while I was a homeopathic doctor. But finally, I realized that terminology is a wrong usage. If you look at the way homeopathy was evolving, one of the main bases, or the base, the foundation on which homeopathy was built up, was just based on this anti-allopathy stance. Okay, so if you have a broader look at this bigger problem, you can say that what's the scope of homeopathy in the past, in the present, and in the future. Okay, so in the past it was mostly as an answer to the allopathy, as a solution to the anti-allopathy. So there's no diagnosis is required. There's no germ theory. There's only the vitalism principles are used, and many such outdated things. And to as a solution to that cruel practice, that we call it as heroic medicine. That was the nature of practice of medicine that was existent during Hahnemann's time, that is back in 1800s. So during that time, Hahnemann was shaping homeopathy just as a gentle method. So when you look at allopathy that was practiced during his time, it is like bloodletting, then leeching, then cauterizing, and mercurial application, sulfur, many such things which was used, and that was really painful and horrible to the patient. And more than the sufferings of the disease itself, the treatment was given more suffering, and even people used to die just out of these kind of treatments. So Hahnemann was not happy with that, and he came out of that, and he stopped practicing allopathy that was present during his time, and just like he became an ex-allopath, okay, like I am right now. Then he started reading some books, and you know the history how homeopathy came into being. So that's how he came up with homeopathy, and the main feature of homeopathy was it was gentle, mild, and easily comprehensible to the people. So that's the tagline used by homeopathy, even Hahnemann. So the gentleness of homeopathy was the main criteria or the feature. But the problem here is that today we know that heroic practices, those practices are not existent today. We evolved, the modern medicine evolved from that, and today we call it as evidence-based medicine. So you were mentioning about this Mahendralal Sircar. He lived in a time when this evidence-based medicine was not even in its infancy. So it was never ever mentioned, or such a thought was not present anywhere in this whole world. The whole idea of integrating science and inquiry and research into medicine itself came after 1910, after the Flexner report that was made in USA. So only after that, the importance of research, clinical research, and integrating medical practice, education was coming up after that Flexner report. So these people like Mahendralal Sircar, they were living in such in a historical period where medicine was such in an infant state, in a proto-scientific form. So we cannot say that they were talking science. We cannot say that. But they were doctors. They were more part of the modern medicine. But we cannot say that that was completely scientific, because it was still in its evolving form. Even today, it is in its evolving form. So today, that's why I was coming to that point, that today, if any doctor or any other people who are around and they are looking at the way the medicine is practiced and they are calling it as allopathy, actually they are unaware of all these facts. So they should try to learn all this, and they should understand that allopathy is not existent, and what we have today is evidence-based medicine, and it came after the 1980s. It came after 1980s, and it became popular after 2000. So that's the whole picture. So evidence-based medicine is just 20 or 25 years old, and now we have understood that that's the best practice, and now we are improving, or we are augmenting all the techniques in this evidence-based medicine, and we are going forward. And that's how we could come up with a vaccine in very short time for this COVID-19. In almost in 18 months, we were about to come up with a vaccine. So that's the beauty of science. Okay.
Now I have a question about homeopathy specifically. So, how does homeopathic medicine for animals work? Because I've seen some Instagram pages advertising homeopathy for animals. How does that work? And also homeopathy for babies. If it's a placebo and the person or the whoever you're giving it to doesn't recognize that they're being given any medicine, how does that psychological effect take place?
When you talk about the effects of homeopathy, or why it is seemingly effective, why homeopathy is seemingly effective, there are certain reasons why we usually point out from the part of the critics. So, and mostly the most heard one is about the placebo effect. But apart from that, there are many other things which we need to take into consideration. So we know that there are self-limiting diseases are there. Then there are a regression to mean. There's a technique, or there's an important aspect to every disease, that always the diseases tend to regress to the mean. So that's a common feature in all these diseases. And there's a nature of the disease to be cyclical or episodical. So it comes and goes in episodes. And these are some things, some reasons. Apart from that, when you look at the way you treat an animal, or when you treat a child, the biggest problem is that the observer is the person who is giving away the feedback of the treatment. It's not the patient himself. Okay, so the chances are high that there's an observer bias to come in between. So that's the main reason. So if you give a pill to the dog, or your pet dog, or your cat, or even your baby, it's not the baby coming out. Okay, he's not telling that. Okay, I'm fine now. So the observer is telling, okay, I'm fine, and that's one aspect. And the second one is conditioning. Okay, so there are beautiful experiments done with science to point out the effect of conditioning in the animals. So when you Pavlov's experiment is one of the main experiment that is pointed out in all these things. So you can see that even in animals, placebos have some role. So that is called conditioning, and that can be seen even in the babies. So these are the two main reasons which we can point out to say why a medicine is seemingly effective in animals and in babies. So these are the two main reasons. And another reason is that there are some fake homeopathic medicines used in homeopathy. That is, some medicines claim to be homeopathic, which is not really homeopathic, and used as a homeopathic medicine. That means the mother tinctures, which we use as part of the homeopathic treatment, they are not homeopathic. They are pseudo homeopathic, we should say. But unfortunately, this is present in the homeopathic literature, and so the people think that this is homeopathic, and they are prescribing all those things. So, okay, I'm okay with that, because it's just part of their daily bread, and it's perfect for them. But unless the only advice which I can give to all those homeopathic doctors out there is to not to delay a proper treatment. You should always look for the diagnosis, and you should always refer the case in its earliest, that golden hour, to the most apt treatment which is required without delaying. Because every second counts when it comes to serious diseases. So even, especially when it's regarding the lifestyle diseases, it can be managed using the modern medicine. And if you delay the proper treatment, if you are not letting the blood pressure to go under control, or the diabetes to go under control, you are actually endangering that person's life by letting for some organ damage. So never ever do that. But for all other diseases, for all other self-limiting diseases, or for all other episodical diseases, you can do that. And the best thing a practicing homeopathic doctor can do right now is to be a good communicator to the patient, and to be a good family doctor who can be a good responder to the patient, and you can channel the treatment. That's the only thing which we can do right now, because this is a social reality that in our country more and more homeopathic doctors are coming out every year. So that's the only thing which I can give as an advice to them. Okay.
And what you mentioned earlier, this observer effect, I think that ties in a lot with anecdotal evidence.
Yeah.
When people give homeopathic medicine or take homeopathic medicine and their disease is cured, those are two independent events. Giving medicine
Yeah.
and disease being cured, they are independent events. And
Yeah.
because they're correlated, they feel the medicine is what caused
Exactly.
the cure.
We call it as a black cat effect, or a post hoc fallacy. It's a logical fallacy that if an event precedes another event, we are tend to correlate between them. So post hoc fallacy we call it. So also to rule out these, science have certain methodologies to counter this. That's why these double-blind trials and these kind of placebo-controlled trials. So that's how we rule out all these kind of factors, biases, and confounding factors. Okay.
Okay, I think that's all the questions I had. Shall we go to some audience questions? I
Sure,
hope
sure.
you have time.
Yeah, of course. We'll go.
Okay. Cool. So, guys, ask your questions now. We can anything you have, if there are questions on homeopathy or questions on health experience specifically, go ahead and ask. I'll just scroll up and see what chats we've got.
Can you give me 2 minutes? I'll just
Yeah.
pause.
Sure, sure.
I need to let him go.
Sure.
Okay. I'll just pause the video and audio for a minute.
Sure. Guys, I think I've received 3 super chats, and I wanna call them out by name. So Deepak sent me a super chat. He complimented me on the kind of content I make. I'm really appreciative of that. One more super chat from Darwin's Mind. He's congratulating Arif sir, and one more super sticker from Rakshit. Yeah, any kind of support is really well appreciated. I will also scroll up and look for questions. I'll just look at the bottom of the chat first. Is Arif back? Okay, I'll ask. Did you find Bharat asks, did you find any treatment that worked well during your practice and has no solid reason to work? I'm assuming that's what you asked. I'll ask him that. Why does Kerala have so many homeopaths? Okay, that's a good question. I'll ask him that. Since homeopathy is still a pseudoscience since day one, why it took so long? Okay, I'll ask him that. Let me scroll up and look for more questions. Best to rehabilitate AYUSH practitioners. Pranit asks. By the way, those last 2 questions are from Prasad and Rajesh.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah. I have a couple of really interesting questions here.
Okay.
So the first one is, during your practice, Bharat asked, during your practice, did you actually find any medication that genuinely worked and without having any solid reason to work? Have you ever encountered a situation like that?
Actually, the main reason why I had to reconsider my practice is because it's not because it doesn't work or not seeing my medicines work or anything like that. But it's like after seeing that some of my medicines work, that I got these doubts in my science, in my homeopathy. I'm not calling it as a science now. Because, in my first clinic, I was the same person handling the pharmacy as well. So there was no pharmacist. So at times when I go to the pharmacy and I was making the medicines to the patients, I will be sometimes in a hurry and I'll be doing this medicine preparation, and sometimes I will be just misplacing the medicine bottle, and sometimes instead of belladonna for a fever, I used to take out some other medicine accidentally, and I used to pour it, and then and only after pouring out that wrong medicine that I'll be realizing, oh my God, this is something, this is a wrong medicine. But during that time, I was a believer, and I used to think that okay, maybe the God put my hand to that medicine because this might be the miracle remedy that is going to be working wonders. So that might be the reason, and I just go forward with that wrong medicine, and I could see that even with that wrong medicine, the patients,
Not,
yeah, they got better, and even better in the sense that they got better, even better than if I was giving that usual fever remedies. Okay, so the only relation between these two remedies is just in their spellings, because their sphere of action and their total material information, everything is totally different, and there is no way that can be compared. Okay, so like belladonna is a medicine for, as per the materia medica, for a fever, and the one of the main similar medicine is bellis perennis, and it's not for fever. It's given for usually the bruises and some injuries. But at times I usually mix up these, and I'll be giving bellis perennis for the fever. Okay, there are some instances where you can give even bellis perennis for fever, but that's not the case, because in homeopathy you have to match the symptoms. Okay, that's how it works. Symptom similarity. So you cannot just give a medicine which has a picture of belladonna. That's not the way. So if you have the picture of belladonna, you should give belladonna, and then that medicine can only work in that case. So this is the main aspect when I started rethinking. Okay, then at that time there was a campaign by the 1023 homeopathy. There is nothing in it. A movement back in 2010, and I could see people coming out in front of different pharmacies and taking these homeopathic pills in groups. Whole bottles were taken in one go, and still they were claiming that there's nothing wrong with us. It's not going to kill us. So that was one instance where I was thinking, okay, if these medicines are not going to get you any of these drug provings as claimed in the theory, then what's the point in giving antidotes for these medicines?
Yeah.
So these are the few things. And the answer to the question specifically is that in some instances I had seen these kind of cures happening, but due to my attitude towards this, I used to test it in the next instance, where I will just give some placebo and I will just watch if that is really this medicine is working or not. And usually what I had seen is that apart from the medicine or above the medicine, what was working really is the lifestyle changes and the nutritional intervention, which I usually do and which I was trained in. I usually use these vitamins and dietary correction and all such things as part of my practice. So actually these things were working. So if you get a allergic patient, and I would say that one of the main disease or the only disease which I had seen some effect in my treatment, whole treatment, is that while treating allergies. And finally I figured it out that it's not the medicines that is working. It's usually the dietary correction that was working. So the specific answer to the question is that not even in one instance I could see that homeopathic medicine is working unequivocally to say that this is the real effect. I'm not able to say that. I haven't seen such a thing. Okay.
Next question from Prasad. He asks, how does Kerala have so many homeopaths even with its high literacy rate?
Yeah, that's the. I think I'll have to repeat one of my statements which I had made earlier. That is, having an education or a educational credential, degrees, or having so much literacy, that doesn't mean that you will be scientifically tempered. That's not the reality. But the chances are high that it's easy to educate those people. So that's why you can see these kind of communication happening mostly in Kerala. If you come to Kerala, you can see these kind of activities happening almost every day. We are conducting clubhouse discussions on various subjects almost every day from 7 to 10. So that's a routine here. So this is happening here because when we talk about these different subjects, there are people who are willing to listen to us, and they are ready to learn. because they know that value of literacy and value of gaining knowledge. So that's a different aspect. So having literacy doesn't mean that they are scientifically tempered, but most of the scientifically tempered persons are literate. So that's the correlation. So the basic criteria or the basic foundation on which a scientific temper can happen is that by having a proper education. I'm not saying that you should be having an IAS or any such this doctorate. I'm telling you the basic knowledge to read something or to write something. That's more than enough to have a proper scientific education or scientific mentality. You can listen and understand things. If you get a doubt, you can just open your Google search and you can just type there, okay, whether homeopathy is pseudoscience or not. You just type homeopathy. The first page that comes to your in front of you will be from Wikipedia, where it says that homeopathy is a pseudoscience. So that's how you figure out all these things. You can do that, but to do all these things, you should be having a minimum education and an idea how to write and read. So that's all. So I hope the answer is clear.
Yeah, if you use Wikipedia, I think they'll come with another counter argument. Oh, anyone can edit Wikipedia. So
Yeah, that I can comment on that, because
yeah,
even I had tried to edit Wikipedia while I was in my college back in I think back in 2008. You can go to the homeopathy page, and if you go to the search that edit history, you might find my name there. So I was doing that back in 2008 while I was in my college. But the problem is that there were multiple attempts like this, and now they have locked that page. It's not let to edit, because now the information which is given in that page is now clear, thoroughly verified, and it's now clear, and it's now locked, and it's not let to edit due to this kind of vandalism. But the problem here is that homeopaths back in 2015 or so, they had conducted an online campaign by an online petition to edit Wikipedia and to remove that word pseudoscience from that that page. And even I had, yeah. So you just imagine how what we are facing here is a scientific problem, and what these people are trying to do is to use democratic measures to solve a scientific problem. That's incompatible. That's not the way science can change its stance. If you wish to change the stance taken by science, you come up with evidence, you come up with data to support your claim that, okay, homeopathy is science. Okay, definitely that pseudoscience will be removed from there and it will be replaced by it is a science. But I don't think that will happen any soon and in any future, because it's already completed. All these things are completed, and almost all nations in the world who were serious about their public health are now taking out these kind of alternative systems from their mainstream government-funded healthcare, because they are particular about their public money, and they are not ready to waste public money the way India is doing, even when they are a poverty-stricken country. Okay.
Rajesh asks if homeopathy has been a pseudoscience all this while, why did it take so long to debunk it? And think I have an answer for that, but I'd also like to add one more question. Like, even after being debunked, why does it still get so widely practiced?
Okay. He's asking that it is difficult to debunk, is it?
No, it's already been debunked. It's
Okay.
been a pseudoscience for so long, and it's
Mhm.
been debunked. He's asking why did it take so long to debunk it?
Why did it take so long to get debunked? Is it?
Huh.
Okay. I don't think so. Actually, in our scientific community, scientific world, decisions take its own time. Okay, and I think the moment we get a clear picture about something, especially when it is something related to a medicine which is being used by a lot of people, banning something or to control something is not that easy, because it's a social problem. It's not just a scientific problem. We know that homeopathy or this alternative system is not just a scientific problem, it's a social problem too. So in that case, if you need to come up with some policy changes, especially in a country, you cannot just take it down that way, because just imagine if you need to take down the AYUSH system, AYUSH department in our country, you'll have to conduct a lot of parliamentary debates and discussions just to take out this AYUSH system,
Yeah.
AYUSH department. It's not that easy that just any person can come up and strike down, okay, from tomorrow onwards we don't require AYUSH. That's not going to happen. That's one reason. And the second one is that even though we know all these things are happening around the world, we are also seeing that all this information is not reaching the people. Okay, so only one thing which I can guarantee now is that my children won't be sent for any education in homeopathy. And I can also guarantee that any of those people who are listening to these talks or these discussions, they are also, if they are taking up all this information seriously, and if they are convinced, even they are also not going to send their kids or their family members for a degree or for an education in homeopathy or in any other system. So this is how people get aware of all these things. So it's all about getting giving proper awareness, creating awareness, and to communicate this properly with the people. So that's why I was telling you earlier, the prime role that should be taken up in this for these kind of upliftment should be by the government, by the politicians, but they are not doing it. So now we are taking up that role, and we are using all the social media to propagate all this information, and we hope that this will happen in maybe next 50 or 100 years.
So,
Yeah.
Rakshit asks, not Rakshit, sorry, Swag Cats asks, how bad is the BJP government for modern medicine, especially that 1 week alternative medicine course that they've introduced for modern medicine?
In this aspect, I cannot blame just BJP, because all our politicians, even in the politicians in Kerala who are leftists, the communists, they are also supporting all these things. So it's the scientific temper of these politicians that matters. So let's hope that in the future, most of them, the majority of our politicians become scientifically tempered, and they are ready to take up all these scientific information around the world, and if they are serious about controlling the money wasted on all these things, then definitely we will see the actions which we saw in other countries like in UK, in Australia, in other parts of the world, that will also happen in our country as well. So it's just a matter of time and the change in attitude of our politicians that we should wait for. It's not just that the problem of the BJP. Of course, the attitude and the nature of the politicians from the BJP, they are little more religious, and they are more inclined towards all these things because of their inclination towards this traditionalism and their that kind of what do you say, the spirituality and all such things. That's taking us backward. That is pushing us backward, and we have already traveled pushed backward almost by 10 or 15 years. So that's the biggest damage. So this is a slow process. We need to hold on. We need to, if people like you and me just try to come up as an activist and be a part of the politics and try to be the change. That's all. We cannot just expect that everything should be done by others. If you want something to be seen here, just be that and just do it. That's it.
Yeah.
You cannot expect everything to be served at your table. You cannot expect that. Okay.
Rakshit asks, there are lots of people who believe in pseudoscientific medicine.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
There are lots of people who believe in pseudoscientific medicine.
Okay.
So how can we, as the scientific community, reach out to these people? I think I also have an answer to that.
Sure. I think the best person to do that is our Pranav itself, because that's what we are doing. These kind of live programs and such things. This is how we reach out.
So I think we kind of discussed this earlier. I think media, if the government is not going to play that role, then media is probably the most important role player here. Um, and like you said earlier, movies I think are a great way to change society. The way it is to get a message across to a lot of people. But if movies are also not playing that role right now, I think social media is doing a good job of playing that role. What we're doing right here on YouTube, what you're doing on Clubhouse often, and also all forms of social media where people are kind of taking it up in their own hands and like getting a lot of like-minded individuals to follow them and expose people to this information. I think that is probably yeah, the best way that the scientific community
Yeah.
has for reaching. Yeah,
Yeah, before going to the next question, I have got one question here that is
yeah,
by Subramanian Warrior. That
yeah.
what about the life before modern medicine? He has asked that. Okay, I think we should answer that because
Yeah.
this is the question we should ask to all those AYUSH bugs here, like homeopaths and the Ayurvedics and especially the yoga people that they claim that this is the best medicine, this is the best intervention that can make you live longer, that can increase the longevity and all such things. These are the claims that made by them. But the reality is, if we look at the lifespan of our people, especially in India, for the last 100 years, the average lifespan of an average Indian at the time of our independence was somewhere around 35 years. Okay, and
25,
35.
35. Okay.
Yeah, 35 years. And you know, from there we know that in India the most the people who lives most in India is from Kerala, that is somewhere around 72, and the average Indian lifespan is around 68, I think. And this we have seen. And I'm not saying that the only reason behind this is medicine. I'm not saying that, but there are multiple factors, and one among that is medicine itself. Because if you look at the diseases which we were afflicted with in the past and in the present, and if you look at the way we will be fighting off the diseases in the future, you can see a very drastic differences in all these. In the past, we were suffering from cholera and diarrheal diseases and such malnutrition and many other things like that. So people were dying in their infancy. The mothers and the children were mostly affected. So infant mortality rate was highest in the past. And the people were dying sooner, and most of the diseases were not getting diagnosed, and they were dying. So we used to say that there are some Malayalam usages, which I don't think there's no point in saying it here, that because people will just die down just while working. We say that collapse, we say right now. So this used to happen even in the past, but today we are not seeing that frequently because we have certain mechanism to identify the problem earlier, and we have the treatment methodologies to support them to improve their longevity. So we have the lifestyle diseases management right now. So the diseases in the past was entirely different from what we see today. Today we are talking about the lifestyle diseases, and in the future also we'll be talking mostly about the lifestyle diseases and the diseases like viral infections, which we are seeing right now. So this is a reality. So this shift from infections to the lifestyle, communicable to non-communicable diseases, this is a very important aspect which we should consider. So along with this, we have much improved healthcare systems, mechanisms to screen and to detect the complaints earlier. And even one of the main diseases which we talk about right now is about cancers. We should understand that cancer is the disease of aging. The more you live, the more chances are you are prone to get a cancer. So it's a disease of aging. Like that, all these treatments which you are claiming that are so effective was not able to handle all these infections, all these communicable diseases in the past, and the people were dying younger. Even in their 30s and 40s. Even the most acclaimed and most famous kings and rulers in the past, most of them lived up to 25 or 35, like that. That was the longevity which we should, the lifespan of those people. But when I say that the lifespan was 35 in India, at the same time the lifespan was almost 60 plus in Japan, because the system prevailing there were a little more different, and their nutrition was a little more different, and the chance for the public sanitation and such measures were a lot different, and that's one reason why they were having a better longevity. So likewise, these treatment systems were not able to control any of these communicable diseases, and whatever things which we claim today is just because of the advancements of the science and the modern medicine. So this is a faulty assumption that we usually say that all these traditionalists, especially the people who talk about the past, the wonderful past we have, the past was not wonderful. It was horrible. The people were dying. We were poverty stricken. We were not having enough means to live. People were suffering. But today we can see that people are living more happily around the world, and we are doing all these activities to make our fellow human beings to live, to lead a better life, and to be happy, and to have a better life. So that's what we are doing. So I think that answers that difficult question.
Yeah.
Okay.
And let me know if we've been streaming for 1.5 hours. So let me know if you need somewhere to be.
Sorry?
If we need to end the stream or something, you can just let me know. If you,
I think if no more questions are there, we can just conclude.
yeah, okay. I'll ask one more question.
Okay, no problem.
So
It's almost two, yeah.
Yes, Surya asks, what was your favorite subject in college?
In college,
Yeah.
in homeopathy college, my favorite subject was public health, that is preventive medicine. That was my favorite subject. And the second one was pathology and surgery, these three subjects, and medicine. The best subject that is more important, or which is close to my heart, is public health. Okay.
Yeah. I think we can end the stream now. I think most of the questions I see they've already been addressed earlier in the stream. But do you have any questions on your stream?
I'm just checking it out. 1 second.
Yeah.
Okay, no questions are there, just some statements. Okay, I think we can end this.
Yeah, we can end the stream.
So I hope you're happy with this.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope the audience.
One thing which I would like to add here is that usually we used to talk about the features by which we can differentiate between. Hello. Yeah, which we can differentiate between. Yeah, we can differentiate between science and pseudoscience. I think all the people should try to learn this. That's one of my advices to the common people. So when we try to criticize these pseudoscience or these alternative systems, people are taking it so personal, and they are coming up with some responses which will be like ad hominem and some personal attacks. So in science, criticism is not handled that way. In science, criticism is welcomed, and all those points for which the criticism is put forward is taken up, and they are addressed properly, and they are clearly given the answer, and that's how it proceeds. Okay, so that's one of the main reasons, or one of the main features by which we can differentiate between a science and a pseudoscience. And another one is that the undue claims of effectiveness. So when you look at the science, you won't see that people claiming that, yeah, paracetamol is a very good medicine, it cured me of fever. Nobody is going to say that. Even when you talk about the vaccines which we are seeing right now, nobody is claiming that this is a wonder drug or a wonder intervention and it's going to be the best or something like that. It's saying that vaccine is the only solution which we have right now. You take it, it gives you protection, this and such, this much percentage. if you take this, you will be saved from a serious disease. If you take this, you will be saved from a death. Like that. These are the realistic answer, or the realistic, what do you say, the information associated with a modern medicine intervention. But when you look at the claims made by pseudoscience or homeopathy or Ayurveda, you will be seeing that this is the best, this is the only thing, and I had given to 100 people, and and all those people were cured of this disease just using this medicine. This is the best. This if this is present, not even modern medicine is required. These are the difference of claims made by homeopathy or alternative system and the modern medicine. So if you find an undue claim, a claim which is undue, you can straight away point out that could be a pseudoscience. So to understand these such features, and final thing is regarding the conspiracy theories. So when we talk about all these criticism or these unscientific aspects of all these treatments, the first thing which comes out from the proponents of all such practices is that, okay, they are funded by IMA, they are funded by the big pharma, they are funded by the medicine lobby, so they are talking against us, they are trying to suppress these treatments because they are trying to sell their product. So this is the kind of conspiracy theories that is brought up by the alternative systems or these treatments. You won't see such a thing in modern medicine. You will never ever say that if a person says that arsenicum album is effective, no modern medicine practitioner will be saying that, okay, they are funded by some alternative medicine giants, or they are trying to suppress hydroxychloroquine, or some they are trying to suppress the vaccines. No, nobody will say that. They will just look at the arsenicum album, they will inquire about arsenicum album, and they will be giving you the answer that arsenicum album is not effective, not even for a single disease. There is no evidence that it worked in the past and in the present, and we are not expecting that to be working in the future. So this is the clear answer given by the scientific community. But again, when we say that, you are not happy. So please don't take this criticism in a personal manner. This is not attacking you, this is attacking the science behind you. So that's one thing. And the second thing, and the final thing is regarding towards the students or the doctors practicing in homeopathy right now. You look at any other professions which is being undertaken right now, you can see that the profession is supporting the professionals. But when you come to homeopathy, you can see that the professionals are supporting profession. Because if there is no professionals, this profession itself will die. So that's one reason why I had to waste my beautiful 5 years to go behind this profession and to find out the answers so that I can remain in this profession. But unfortunately, you know that the story which came afterwards, so I'm not repeating that. So this is the main aspect which differentiates between other professions and homeopathy. So this profession is not backed by science. So if you try to come here, or if you are planning to come here as a professional, be aware of these important facts and be careful that you will have to support this profession. Without you, this profession will die. So be careful. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I think.
Thank you, Arif, for your time.
We'll continue with the episode 2 on ex-Muslim.
Yeah, for sure.
An interview with an ex-Muslim, next one.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for all the wonderful. I think many of the things you said were extremely valuable. I'm sure a lot of people watching will really appreciate what you said. So, yeah, I think let's end the stream, shall we?
Sure. Okay. So hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.